From the land of sky blue waters, welcome to the Sota Pod. Isha Dromi here, and I will be joined by Seth Toupal momentarily, and I thank you all for joining us wherever and whenever you are listening. Let's jump right into it, because right when I was about to record this intro, to maybe do what I've been teasing at, reworking the Hoppy Hour a little bit, to make it more audio fan friendly versus those who just watch it on YouTube, something hit the news desk yesterday. Something smacked all of us NHL fans, all of us. I don't even want to say hardcore anymore because I feel like everybody uses this tool. Guys, CapFriendly. That's right. The successor to CapGeek is on its final legs. And that is not due to the website having any issues, to them having any funding issues. No, like National Hockey League GMs and front offices use this site. Like if you guys look at any, behind the scenes features, whether it's your own team producing it, whether it's HBO, Sportsnet, ESPN, whatever. Guys, rewatch some. You'll see that a lot of the time, general managers on their computer will have, if you can see their computer screen anyways, in the shot, CapFriendly open. It is such a huge tool. It is one of the big pillars of reference points and tools, not only for NHL fans, like I said, but people who actually work in the industry, who work within the game, NHL, and lower levels as well. Everybody learning about each team. Hockey DB, Elite Prospects, and CapFriendly are the big three. Crazy news. And it was actually, I got to give a shout out to my friend Dylan. He texted me a screenshot of the headline and was like, what the fuck is this? And my response was exactly the same. What is going on? Is this a power move? Let's just get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Washington Capitals of the National Hockey League have reached an agreement to purchase CapFriendly, the website. Yes, a National Hockey League team, not just Ted Leonza and one of his various companies, Ted Leonza being the owner of the Washington Capitals and various Washington professional sports teams. The Capitals themselves have purchased the site. Now, at first I was like, based. He wants to win. He wants to make some money off of this. And the owners are going to get a fat payout, I imagine. But then I saw an article that Elliot Friedman wrote and thus reported on. And it's worse than we thought. Now, I'll preface it with saying fair play to the Washington Capitals. Every National Hockey League team wants an edge. Every team's job, every general manager's job, every front office job, everyone under the owner, they're working for him. And what does the owner want? He wants to win. Owners of the National Hockey League have so much money they don't even know what to do with. Having a sports team is their shiny toy. It's their game that they hope to beat. We all play fucking whatever it is, Counter-Strike, Halo, Fortnite. I don't know what the kids are playing these days, but why do we play games? To enjoy them, get that dopamine rush, and to win. And a lot of us these days have to pay for a lot of perks in games as well. On a bigger scale, that's an owner of a sports franchise, right? They want to win. They're having fun. They're dishing money to make the experience better and to ultimately help their team win. And that is what the Washington Capitals are doing in this situation. Now, the site will still be active for users and the National Hockey League brass until July. The Washington Capitals wanted the site to be publicly, independently operated through the 2024 draft and free agency. So it's not expected that the sale will be official until at least July 5th. Neither the team nor CapFriendly would comment on this, according to Elliot Friedman. Dominic Zrim, who's the website's co-owner and director, does have NHL experience in the past, for what it's worth, ladies and gentlemen, working with both the San Jose Sharks and the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, again, NHL teams, not all of them, but a good chunk of them have actually worked out agreements with CapFriendly so that they can use their tools and API interface, application programming interface. And they recently actually received notice that their contracts would be terminated. So within the greater world of fanatic hockey fans and those working in the National Hockey League, this was an indication that potentially a team was buying the site. And now we know it's the Capitals. Like I said in the opening frame, you can understand why a team would want this infrastructure to use as a competitive advantage, and also so that other teams actually have to do more homework and can't just fire up this site. Because again, general managers, front office use this to help to make it easier on them when making big decisions, when making moves. It's reported that after July 5th or around that date, the site will go dark and fans and the brass in front office and National Hockey League teams will not be able to use it any longer. Now, will something rise from the ashes? I imagine so. Is it going to be the same? Is it going to be an adjustment even for fans? Absolutely. Absolutely. CapFriendly was founded in 2015 after its predecessor CapGeek closed. CapGeek was, I still sometimes let it slip and say CapGeek over CapFriendly. That's how much I used CapGeek growing up. And it was tragic the way that it closed. Some of you might not know, creator Matthew West, who built this unbelievable site, died of colon cancer in March of 2015. CapFriendly became an excellent and the rightful substitute for the fans and media after that. So what does this mean? It means the Capitals, still are building to win. Now, that might be a crazy statement, but they've won their cup. They got an older group here. Maybe they see that, the Ovechkin era is ending and we're going to have to do a full overhaul soon here. Let's not give anybody a competitive advantage. And as a result, the ricochet effect is the fans are going to, suffer is the wrong word, but, we're going to go through a little nerd turmoil here until something else pops up. And I'm very interested to see if maybe the greater analytic community is going to work together to create something, or if it's just going to be a freaking arms race. Whose site is going to pick up traction first when multiple ones seem to rise from the ashes? Anyways, huge news here in the National Hockey League. And this story, again, just came out. So there's going to be more to it. And I'm excited to also see where this goes. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about that. I know I teased a new Hoppy Hour segment moving forward, geared towards the audio side, and we'll still have the video side coming out on YouTube. Sorry it was a little slow last week on YouTube. Both Hoppy and I were involved in wedding party duties, and this last weekend was just crazy. But we're going to bring on Seth momentarily here to talk some big stories in the National Hockey League, as well as what recently went down in the PWHL. No, not their championship. NATALIE Darwitz being let go. And we got a few other stories and notes to talk about as well. But before that, I want to give a big shout out to our friends at Northland Vodka. Northland Vodka is my favorite vodka. It is the best vodka in the state of Minnesota, hell, in the United States. Great for mixed drinks this summer. Great to just drink straight on the rocks, you name it. Mark Parrish has the best vodka recipe on the planet. And you guys know and love Mark Parrish. He's an absolute beauty. Those he works with, those involved in his company who work with him are unbelievable as well. An awesome local company, a great product. They're going to be doing signings all around the Twin Cities this summer. So be sure to follow them on social media. If you want to meet Mark, go pick up some swag. And just meet the great team there. Sample some of their more unique mixed drinks ideas and samples. Look, we love working with local companies here, guys. And a percentage of every sale of Northland Vodka goes back into the community. So what are you waiting for? Go pick you up some Northland today. Northland Vodka, a proud partner of the Sota Pod. All right, let's bring on Seth Toupal from Locked on Wild. And we are back for another hockey segment here on the Sota Pod with yours truly. That's right, Seth Toupal of Locked on Wild. Seth, how's it going? How's your weekend?
Weekend was great. Just kind of took it easy. Had a chance to just kind of recharge. It's weird being on the job hunt because you're trying to get into a routine. So. Yeah. I am still not I still haven't found the perfect routine yet, but took an opportunity to just kind of recharge the batteries a little bit. And I am actually, for once, not having the Sunday scaries. I'm ready to rock.
You got no bags under your eyes or anything. We're ready to go.
It's going to be a good week.
Well, that's good. I love the positivity. Yeah, Hey, I'm buzzing right now. I'm loving life right now, Seth. I had a tremendous weekend, but it was not a chill weekend. It was a fun weekend, but my roommates got married, Hoppy's brother actually, and it was great. But groom's dinner Friday night, and then a whole lot of drinking, a whole lot of drinking, a whole lot of drinking. The wedding the next day, the next morning, a whole lot of drinking, a whole lot of drinking, and then I got home last night, and honestly, I slowed down. I probably peaked around right after the reception. It's kind of like when we all went after, as you do.
Yeah.
But as the night went on, more and more people get after it more and more. And I was just, because I was so tired from the night before, I was like, I'm just gonna keep a solid buzz. I'll have a beer in my hand that I'm gonna sip on. Had one whiskey. Yeah. And then started to fade a little bit. But once I got home, house to myself tonight, obviously, bride and groom. Stayed at their fancy hotel and cleaned up a bit. Saw that there's some fights on. Grabbed 2 bottles of champagne, a jug of OJ, and was like, "Let's fucking go." And we stayed up till. I stayed up till I think 6 a.m. And we're still going, Seth. So we're still going. So you guys are hearing this on Monday. We're recording this on Sunday. I have a voice. It's a little raspy right now, Phoebe sexy voice style, but. But honestly, I'm surprisingly in really good spirits. The caffeine has hit. The beer, I think, has left my system. The champagne still lingering a bit, but that's okay. That's okay. But overall, great weekend. Blessed to have met so many amazing people as you do at weddings, and a big congratulations to my roommates. They were so happy. They enjoyed themselves, and that's really what matters, right? Because even when you're involved in the wedding party and all this stuff, they need to have their day. They need to not be stressed. They need to, though they have to, shake hands and kiss babies with everyone. You want them at the end being like, this was worth the time, money, energy we spent into it, and we had a grand old time. And honestly, they loved it. So I couldn't be happier.
Hear.
Let's talk some hockey. Now, guys, it's going to be more of a chill episode. I mean, we just, the first 3 minutes of the segment just kind of caught you guys up with what we were doing. Not that we're intentionally going to rag the puck in this episode, but until news drops, until training camp, and basically until post draft, we'll have a little bit of a spike, being able to talk about all the prospects of the Minnesota Wild have drafted. But then after that, we're going to have another few weeks of just nothing going on, and especially after the draft, that's when the Wild brass, at the highest level, right? They're going to take some time off, right? Because though the Minnesota Wild are involved in the playoffs, the players, the on ice crew, their summer vacation has started. But for front office, they're still at it right now, right? In one of the busiest times of the year. So there is going to be another little lull after the draft. But Seth, we got just a couple weeks here. We're going to have a lot of draft talk, so that'll be a lot of fun. And then, just a few weeks of giving that front office some time to chill and hang out on the beach as well. Then we're right back at it for young stars tournaments that occur, training camp, prospect camp, and then the next thing you know, it's going to be October, and we're going to have an NHL season. So guys, it's going to go by fast. I encourage you all to continue to listen to Locked On Wild and the Sota Pod throughout the summer, as we're going to continue to not necessarily dig at the bottom of the barrel for hockey stories, especially with the Wild. Seth and I are prepping the show today, and we're like, is there anything worth noting? Should we, regurgitate some of what these articles are sharing? Is there anything that really, is eyebrow raising? And our answer was no. This week, there's not really much going on. I mean, I could have spent another 10 minutes going at our boy John about his disrespect for Jared Spurgeon, but I aired my grievances in Seth's live chat. We'll keep it at that. Love you, John. But so let's just start with some NHL news, some world hockey news, and we'll get through, some of the things that we weren't able to talk about last week due to the time. And it's funny that we're going from a super long episode last week with a lot of little things to talk about to this week where it's okay, we're going to milk a few of these topics here.
This last week was when you go out for drinks with friends and everybody orders an appetizer and you just share them with the table.
The appies. Yeah.
This week, we're hitting main courses.
I love it. And let's start with this one right here. The NHL's Utah hockey team has narrowed down 6 potential names for the franchise as voted by the people of Utah. And can I just say, It is a little sad, and it's going to be a little weird that there's no hockey in Arizona, but based on like the whole circus that was the last decade of, is this team going to stay? Oh, they're finally like making playoffs good. Taylor Hall's the savior. Darcy Kemper now gone. You know what I mean? Like it's been a roller coaster for the last decade. I don't want to say good riddance, but like I'm glad that era, that phase is done with. But at the same time, I really want hockey to return to Arizona, and I hope it does return to Arizona someday because the sports fans there are awesome, man. It wasn't the fans that cost that organization, right? The fans showed up when the product was good. Man, I had friends who covered that team, Seth, who were priced out of even going to watch them at the college rink because it was too, north of 150 to north of $150. Sometimes you're hitting $300 to go to a college rink to watch a National Hockey League game. Yeah, maybe you'll go once, but like the franchise shouldn't expect the fans to just like bend over for that, right? So
yeah.
I have no issue with the fans in the last year being fed up as well. Like it was just they were just apathetic at that point. So long and the short of it, I'm excited for a new chapter, a new team in the National Hockey League, but at the same time, I do hope to see hockey return to Arizona eventually, because I do think with just even like the bar of expectations, they can do well. They've been operating well under that bar for like a decade and somehow survived, scratching tooth and nail. But back to Utah here, Seth. The 6 names that have been proposed that they've narrowed down to are the Utah Blizzards or Utah Blizzard, singular. That's an important note. That's an important note.
Single Blizzard.
Utah Blizzard. So not the Utah Blizzards, Utah Blizzard. Which I guess it makes sense because you wouldn't have multiple blizzards. You'd have one big blizzard. So, okay. Utah Mammoth. Again, not the Mammoths, which this one I would rather be plural personally.
Yeah.
Utah Mammoth. Utah Outlaws. Okay, there's some plurality. The Outlaws. Utah Venom, which, where the fuck did that come from? Are there like poisonous snakes in Utah? Like, what is this?
Let me consult Google.
Yeah. And Utah Yeti. Now, unconfirmed, but I'm sure there's a Yeti in Utah. I'm sure there's a Yeti in the mountains there. So that one's not bad. But again, singular. The Yetis would have been good, and they've already got their sponsorship deal. Buy the freaking coffee mug and water bottles.
Oh.
For opening game, everyone gets the first 100 people in get a Yeti Utah hockey team koozie.
So Google says there are 7 varieties of venomous snakes in Utah out of 31 total variety of snakes.
I would have never. I mean, I called that, but like I was like, snakes? Like
okay. That might not be accurate because now I'm seeing one that says 4, one that says 15.
Okay, regardless, they got multiple venomous snakes in Utah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I knew that there's like a ton of wildlife there. I didn't know that they if anything, I thought they'd have like garter snakes. Like those are the ones we have in Canada that are like, or in BC anyways, Western Canada, that are like, they're harmless, right? They're really just slid around in your garden. You can, I'm not a big snake guy, but you could theoretically like, pick them up, whatever. They're not going to hurt you at all. But okay, so Utah Venom, with that context, I actually don't hate it. But anyways, Seth and I will give our thoughts on every single one here in a sec. Last one, going full football up in this motherfucker. Utah Hockey Club. That is right, Utah HC. Seth, I'll just hand the mic over to you. What are your thoughts on these last 6 names? Do you think they could do better? Are there any ones that stand out here? Are there any ones that maybe you think just need to be tweaked and polished to work?
Well, you actually put something into existence that I had not thought about that I think is going to seal it for Utah. I think they definitely could do better. The Blizzard is just like,
it's Dairy Queen. You hear Blizzard, you think Dairy Queen.
It's way too infringent on Avs too. Like Avalanche, yeah. Blizzard.
Yeah, Colorado, yeah.
I feel like Outlaws is on the right track.
Yep.
But it's still not like enough.
it's kind of more like AHL, ECHL
Yes.
gimmicky, and like the Brooks Bandits, who are an AJHL team. They have like an outlaw, cowboy as their crest, as their logo, and it's awesome. But it fits junior hockey, it'd fit ECHL, it'd fit AHL. I'm picking up what you're putting down there. I don't know if it's quite NHL prestige enough, for lack of a better term.
I think it's going to be the Yeti, because you can then turn around and have your exclusive
Yeti koozies and
team sponsor
water bottles.
You could sell a Yeti patch. Like you could have them be your jersey sponsor.
Dude, that would be huge right off the bat.
So
because those things are so popular right now, and they've just blown up in the last 2 years.
I think Yeti, there are a couple of reasons, because I think Yeti would allow for some really fun merch opportunities. Mascot, you would be able to, you could go basically like the Jack Link's Sasquatch, just with white fur. Yep. So I think Yeti is the one that the league is probably hoping for, because not only all the possibilities for merch, but corporate sponsors, which let's be honest, that's probably more so what the league is cares about. And you could, I mean, good Lord, that would be just such an easy ask. Hey, Yeti brand, we are having an NHL team become the Utah Yeti. We'd like you to be the primary sponsor of that.
It's funny that your mind went to the Jack Links. Mine went to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
That would also be like, if you wanted to really, you could really cartoon this up pretty good as a mascot, and
might scare the kids, but
well,
I know that Yeti scared me when I was a kid watching Rudolph.
I'll be terrified. Like if they
well, I mean the NHL, I guess they have Gritty, so that's still he's still like an absolute menace and the most terrifying mascot I've ever seen.
Could you imagine if they do like a cartoonish Yeti with crazy eyes, I'm out.
Those ones like on the those slinky eyes.
Yep. I'm out. I'm terrified. How about
a SmackDown WWE match, fucking Gritty versus Yeti? Now we're talking.
Gritty's crazy
on the ice.
Gritty is the embodiment of Mick Foley, though. If we're going wrestling, like he's gonna pull like a table out from underneath the ring. He's gonna do what he has. He's
gonna swing with a goalie stick, fucking Ron Hextall stuff.
Gritty's gonna take a lead pipe from underneath the penalty box, and Gritty's gonna do what he needs to do. He's still the OG, but I feel like Yeti could close the gap a little bit.
Is Mammoth just too again, kind of like outlaws for you, or is that one like, I guess it could be Yeti, but it's just there's not the marketing opportunity?
I think I would put I'd put the Mammoth under the Outlaws if I was like ranking them, but I just think there's, I don't know, there just isn't as much you could do with it.
Well, same with Venom. What are you gonna have as your crest? A friggin' like blood, a tooth, a snake?
Are you going with the symbiote from Spider-Man? Like, are you going that route?
No, I know there's another. Yeah, I was gonna say too. Like, is there gonna be some like is there gonna be some like copyright issues? Like what's going on here?
I think Yeti is probably like, I obviously don't work for the league. I'm not in those meetings, but I feel like, just as somebody who is, I consider myself kind of a creative person. I feel like looking at all of the different things that the league would want to accomplish, I think Yeti gives you the best chance to do that.
Yeah, and there's been there's been hockey teams who've had like the Winnipeg Ice of the WHL. I'm going to bring it up on screen here. They had an awesome logo, and I could see the NHL honestly like not copying it, but getting pretty close here. Let me share it here. By the way, the Winnipeg Ice, now the Wenatchee Wild, the WHL. I'll forever be salty because my hometown, Nanaimo, BC, they were gonna get a team, but the old farts in the community voted against it because they didn't want their tax dollars to go to a junior hockey rink, even though they're gonna die in 3 years. But anyways, I digress. Check this out. How cool is this? This was WHL, bro. And this team and this franchise, I mean, the franchise, it's moved to Wenatchee, but like this is no longer in existence. So they may not be able to copy it, but this is kind of what I envision when I see Yeti, right?
Buy the patent, buy the copyright.
Yeah, why not? Like, isn't that not perfect? Like, this is a fucking too like ECHL style, but like, and look how clean this jersey is too.
Yeah, that would be a great starting point. Honestly, I would probably.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
If we use that as a baseline, I'd probably flip so that it was a dark, for the primary.
Oh, okay, and have white as the
and then you do like as your secondary. You can kind of play off the Blizzard theme and just have like a whiteout as your primary, as your secondary jersey.
The baby blue and white though is just perfect.
Yeah,
well, I guess it's not. Is this? I'm like kind of colorblind, but it's closer to baby blue than not. But yeah, it's that's what I think of. That's what I think of. Okay, we've left one name off the discussion table so far. So let's get to this last one here before we move on to some more topics. The Utah Hockey Club. I thought they were trolling when I was like, this is in the final six, but no. So I ask you, Seth, since when have residents of Utah been such big soccer fans?
Well, there's got to be some inspiration drawn from Real Salt Lake.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't know. Like, let the
Real Salt Lake still has like a, as hokey as it is for MLS teams to kind of adopt, the European soccer type of titles, right?
Real anything.
Yeah, or like Toronto FC, right? Those just kind of make me laugh because it's the MLS. And look, I support the MLS, but at the same time, it's like, okay, little bro, to the Premier League and Bundesliga and stuff like that. But in hockey, this is unheard of, especially at the National Hockey League level. We don't even see this in some of the other big league, major organizations major leagues outside of North America, right? And that's kind of why me, going against the grain as I do, I kind of like it. It would be fucking unique. But from a marketing perspective, it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to make the jersey look kind of like a soccer jersey? You have like a little fucking symbol on the right and then just big old ad everywhere? Like, imagine they still get Yeti. They just put fucking Yeti right in the middle and they have their little logo in the corner.
Or outside the box, your official logo is just the Yeti brand.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just because that, every soccer team is like that. Like, I always think Seattle's was my favorite when they had Xbox. And I always thought they were the Seattle Xbox. If this one I do not think is going to happen. I don't think like the hockey world overall is going to allow it, despite like the fan voting. I think I think the diehards, they won't, like I said, they won't allow this to happen even in Utah. But the fact that it made the final six is hilarious. So I'm with you. I like Yeti as the front runner, and honestly, my number 2 is the hockey club because I just think that would be. It's on my team, so I don't care. We can make fun of them, and I would just, I just want to be a part of covering just whether the backlash, support, or just reaction if that actually becomes the name, and then I'd be so curious to see what the hell they're going to do for their logo and branding. But no, we'll agree here. Yeti, I think, is the front runner. Corporate sponsors. Well, and now that I'm just hyped on that like Winnipeg Ice logo, it's like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, just use that. Just use that and be done with it.
Speaking of the National Hockey League, the NHL and the NHLPA has announced this last weekend that Montreal and Boston will serve as the host cities for the Four Nations face-off in February 2025. I would say it was a pretty successful Four Nations tournament last tournament. It's not really a tournament. They're in-season games. But anyways, those featured games overseas, it was a lot of fun as Wild fans covering it, as the Wild were obviously involved. But this one will be a little bit different. The tournament will feature NHL players from Canada, Finland, Sweden, and the United States competing to Yeah, competing for winning honors is what I quote. The Hockey News has it there. There's not really for a cup or anything like that, but we've been seeing, like I alluded to at the start of the segment here, like we've been seeing the NHL now do more internationally with and without the IHF. I like these little tournaments like this as well. And it's cool. It's going to be both in Canada and the United States, not just like, Ottawa, Toronto, or just Montreal or just Boston. It's cool. They're going to go back and forth. And Canada, Finland, Sweden, the United States. I mean, arguably the 4 best teams in the world right now, right? The 4 best hockey nations. Russia obviously can't be involved in this. But you got to imagine, though, Seth, that David Pastrnak, not happy as he made a call to action. He called out the IHF after the Czech Republic won the World Championship, asking, where's our invite to the 4 nations? I know you're more just a wild guy, more on the NHL beat here, but the more that you've covered this team, the more that we've been jonesing for more hockey, Seth, like, has your interest in international play risen the last, couple years that you've been like just really diving into covering the league and the sport?
Oh, absolutely. And, it brings opportunities too, because obviously anytime we're talking about international play, it's just going to mean more to the other countries because we have the NHL, and the ultimate prize there is the Stanley Cup, which is the thing that everybody around the world is chasing. But what it does provide is instances in which wild players, for example, participate. It just gives them an opportunity to just show that they're amongst the best that their country has to offer, which definitely means something. And so it's fun. It's fun to see, wild players thrown into the mix of these. But I always just kind of view it with the lens of, look, we want to see this team compete at the highest level. They're going to do that in the NHL, and they're just are different degrees as to like the stakes for some of these other teams, which is fine.
What are your thoughts on it being held in February, like smack dab in the midst of the NHL season? And do you think maybe it's like getting viewers, getting fans, getting even players back into like this Olympic style schedule, where I know it's once every 4 years, but it's like if we do Olympics every 4 years and this every 2 years, then at least, there's some sort of, there's some sort of regularity if like, the league slows down around that time.
That's exactly, I think, why they're looking at this, is to try to get everybody in that Olympic mode. Because for people that kind of hop in and are more casual watchers, there's nothing worse than like watching your team play and then all of a sudden, we're gonna be off for 3 weeks. So this is just kind of a, hey, don't forget to clear the February portion of your schedule because we're going to be on Olympic break, or we're going to be on and then the players get used to that as a routine too. Like they're not all of a sudden blindsided by it to where maybe you're going on an absolute heater in January and then all of a sudden you got 3 weeks off. You're not playing in the Olympics and you come back and you're ice cold. Like it gives everybody the opportunity to just work this into their schedule so nobody gets surprised by it when it does happen.
And if you're just a diehard for your NHL team and you don't watch any international play, I could see some frustration because it's gonna come to a little bit of a halt here. But I love international hockey. And this seems like a good way to get us, primed, and the players primed back for, Olympic hockey that's now allowing NHL players to participate again. But it's also a win-win, I think, Seth, for the players, because as a result of the Four Nations Face-Off Tournament, the inaugural Four Nations Face-Off Tournament, there will be no All-Star game during the 2024-2025 season. Since 2016, the All-Star game has featured a 3-on-3 single elimination tournament for 4 teams. This is just kind of replacing that whole game and festivities.
Okay, now I'm fully in.
And Seth, I mean, in 20 days, 19 days at the time of this recording, actually, the first 6 players representing each country are expected to be announced at at the Sphere at the draft.
Love that.
So there's going to be NHL players going. Because when I first read this, I was like, it's in February, mid-season. There's no way NHL players are participating. As I dove into this article here by the Hockey News, I was like, oh man, like this is straight up an Olympic primer tournament. And I hope they start doing it like every second year, like I said, or in some rotation where it's like, hey, we come off Olympics and we still have something to look forward to.
Yeah, it just makes sense to have that as something to fill that space a little bit, especially when you are not, especially when you're not having Olympic competition. Fill that gap with something.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited for this. Poor Pasternak. Maybe the Czechs will be invited to the next one.
Can only hope.
Oh man. All right, let's turn the page here and talk a little PWHL. My goodness, Seth, talk about going from high to low as hockey fans in Minnesota, riding the high of the Minnesota hockey team, winning the inaugural championship, winning the Walter Cup in the PWHL, and being the underdogs coming in to not only just the playoffs, but in my opinion, like every step of the way, man. They had a great start to the season. They looked really, really good at home. They dominated at home, but a little bit dip. And for those who haven't followed it a lot, just quick little Coles notes here. They had a dip towards the end of the season and snuck into the playoffs, man. I thought they were going to be down and out, losing those games to Toronto, those first two games, and they came back swinging, man. We're able to take out Toronto. And just, man, their performance against Boston was incredible. And those were such fun games. The broadcast was amazing. I know you had Alexis on recently, Alexis Pierce, representing Minnesota. She did a tremendous job. The YouTube broadcast, man, it was as good as the NHL. It really was.
Yeah.
Like I was looking for some to not to like be a dick by any means, but just something to note, like, okay, maybe they can do this better, and very minor things that, like, someone who's like watches a ton of sports, both on YouTube and broadcasting, maybe I would just be like on an island to pick up on some of these things, and maybe they're just preference, like placement of like certain graphics and things like that. But other than that, it was near flawless, man. And I enjoyed every moment of PWHL season hockey and playoffs hockey that I watched this year. I cannot wait to go to a game live. So that's all the positivity. And it was just such a good season. It was such a good first year for the PWHL. The product was so much better than the American Women's Hockey League and the Canadian Women's Hockey League, respectively, that were kind of like butting heads, for the last, for the last like 10 years before both of them folded there. I'm very, very excited to see the growth of this league. I'm so proud of Grace Zumwickel, Kendall Coyne Schofield, Kelly Panic, Taylor Heiss. I mean, all the girls there, man. And shout out to Taylor Heiss winning a playoffs MVP as well. But having said that, Minnesota can't have nice things for too long. Have nice things for too long, as general manager NATALIE DARWITZ, coming off a Walter Cup, like less than 2 weeks after coming off a Walter Cup victory, relieved of her duties. What's going on here, Seth? What is going on with the Minnesota hockey team?
Great question, so it's interesting because I had Alexis on, and I had internet issues at my apartment. And so I posted the episode right at the time that this was all coming out, which was at like 11:30 at night. And so the league was obviously hoping that this would kind of slide a little bit more under the radar, but they should know better considering it involves a Minnesota team, because we are on stuff like this when it
savages
happens,
in the best possible way.
But there are a couple of key things to keep in mind with this. Number one, the league owns all of the PWHL teams at this moment. And so,
which it's not probably going to be like that forever, but it's the way they had to do it in this inaugural season.
Yeah, at this current moment, that's how they operate. And so that part of it, the fact that it was a league decision, shouldn't really come as a surprise. And honestly, Isha, from what I've gathered and what I have read, Michael Russo and Joe Smith and many others have done a fantastic job in trying to dive further into this. The gist of it that I am able to put together is that it was a rift basically between Darwitz and PWHL Minnesota's head coach. I believe his name is Ken Klee. There just was philosophical differences that they couldn't reconcile, and the league, I think, viewed it as a distraction that they did not want to deal with long term. And so the league decided basically that it was one or the other. As was written in the story that Michael Russo put together, the league offered a couple of opportunities kind of with different positions within either the PWHL to try to kind of help smooth the blow. But here's why I think this is such
for Darwitz, you mean, to offer her some other positions within the league? Okay, I just want to make that clear because a lot of people, and rightfully so, dude, you're defending, your own. Natalie's an absolute legend, but there's a lot of the Minnesota fan base who are just like going scorched earth without all the information. So I just want to make that clear that the league didn't completely fuck her over in that they were like, we still want you part of this league.
But then she was like, if I'm not going to be GM, I'm not gonna.
And that's fair too. That's fair too.
I don't blame Natalie for that at all.
No, but I'm just saying I don't want to just bash on the PWHL when look, they at least had something to offer.
The tough part about this is that it is happening to somebody in NATALIE Darwitz who is so revered, especially here in Minnesota.
Absolutely.
You're putting
we just had her on the Fellowship of the Rink. She's awesome, man.
You're putting a Mount Rushmore together. She's probably on it here in the state of Minnesota. So that's one angle, is that this is happening to one of our own.
Yeah, it's close and near and dear to the hearts here.
And the fact, even though Russo mentions, and that the kind of the general theme of this article is that this had been building up for a while, no one heard about any of this.
Yeah, so they were professional. They acted professional. Maybe behind closed doors, who knows what happened? But that's just it. It's behind closed doors. We don't need to know what happened.
Yeah,
we have no right to know what happened.
Those are, I think, the two angles for me as to why this is, and obviously it sucks because Darwitz put together. You look at the roster that she constructed. Yep. She's the one that constructed it to put Minnesota in position to win the Walter Cup. And so the fact that it happens really sucks. But I think we have to keep in mind that this was obviously going on for a long time. This was going on during the season. It just was being, like you said, it was being taken care of in a manner in which it didn't. You see stuff like this happen with an NHL team, for example, and you'll have moments throughout the season where it's oh, we got a closed door meeting, players only meeting, spats at practice. There just were no reports of any of that, at least from the media perspective, to know that something like this was going on. Which
and you can make an argument for the other side that maybe they held it in to the point where it boiled over. But how I kind of read into that, in my opinion, is they acted professional for the players on the ice. They knew that we had something going here. Let's ride out the season. Let's fucking win. And then we'll deal with this shit after. So that's kind of how I'm reading into it, based on everything you shared and what Russo shared as well. But one other key thing that you let me know, Seth, was the players were involved in this decision as well.
Yes, and it came down to some of the more veteran players on the team throwing their support behind their head coach that I think led the league to go down this path. Now, it's not to say Darwitz obviously had support from plenty of players on the roster.
Yeah, it's not like they were going against her by any means, but from what I'm gathering, it was the working situation had gone to a point where you kind of had to choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was more of the veteran players that veteran players who had worked with Ken Klee previously that came to his support. Some of the younger players on the team, I think, it looks like were going to Darwitz's support, and The league ultimately just look. We don't want to have this drag out. We don't want to have this potentially.
Yeah. We took the players' feedback. We're going to run with it.
We don't want to have this potentially drag out into next season, get any potentially uglier than this already has.
And I guess there's no good timing for this, even though it seems like this is horrendous timing right after winning a championship, but like there's no good timing for a situation like this, right? So I guess, yeah, like you said, nip it in the butt early. It's crazy that we were already through a GM and we don't even have a logo of the team yet or a name, but I mean...
Well, and how many times do we see this play out the other way where it goes on too long?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're trying to you maybe have a coach or a GM depart.
Bruce Boudreau in Vancouver the last year, not this last season, direct last season, but the year before, like, and he was on the Fellowship of the Ring show as well. I'm just going to name drop after name drop. It's not even my show. I just produced it. But go check it out. And he told the boys, like, he knew going into the season he was going to be fired. He knew, like, so he had to just, and he didn't know when, but he knew because they told him at some point, replacing you. But like, the boys love you. And if you get some wins, like, we're obviously not going to fire you then, but as soon as it goes downhill, you're gone. That is such a poor way to operate, right? They literally let it boil over. Now that's an extreme example, but again, so I just want to reiterate that, like, this was not good timing, and I'm not arguing that it was. But what Seth and I are saying is there is no good timing. Maybe if they would have waited one more week, okay, that's fine. But was it really going to, like, soften the blow? No, this was still going to hurt the fans. This was still just going to, this still just sucks. It wasn't going to suck any less a week later. Yeah.
And I wonder, let's say we had gotten to the point where the teams were owned independently.
Maybe it's a different, it could be a totally different situation because the owners would probably have more allegiance to the general manager than the particular coach.
Yeah.
But again, this is such a different league. So who knows, right?
Yeah. It is not a great look to have this happen less than 10 days after a team wins the championship. But
with the context, it's not as bad as what we all thought it was.
And I think there's still going to be plenty more that comes out.
Oh, for sure. This is the tip of the iceberg, but
yeah. So it's an ongoing situation, a phrase that we love to use quite a bit in the media industry. And I will be shocked if we don't get, and maybe Natalie never gets to the point where she feels like she wants to talk about it. Maybe she will after the dust settles a little bit, but I will be shocked if we don't get more to kind of help connect some of the dots. Because even with what has already been reported, there's still some pretty big gaps that will need to be filled. Like, okay, there's philosophical differences. Like, what does that mean?
What does that mean? But again, we as fans, we may never get those answers.
Right.
I'm satisfied at this point with the information we got. Obviously, I want more juice. As sports fans, we feel like maybe sometimes we deserve more. I feel like we've at least checked the box of, like, okay, we're not completely in the dark. We know what the situation is. Because before, we didn't even know that there was a situation, like you said. We know what the situation was. Details, they're probably just going to continue to slowly leak as the summer goes on, and hell, maybe even into like a year or even two, depending on, what player tells a story on a podcast. Like you said, when Natalie feels comfortable wanting to share more. If the league provides more info, hell, if the coach down the road provides more info. So right now, though, I would say that, like, I'm satisfied. I'm not hating on the league by any means. Does this suck? Absolutely. But if the players want to continue to win, and if the veteran players who helped the team get that Walter Cup feel like we need this coach to continue to win, then I don't want to say the league made the right decision, because there's no right or wrong, but the league made a decision with the best info, I guess, that they had.
When the word dysfunction is used, which here's a one sentence that I think kind of sums the whole thing up from the Russo article. A source briefed on the situation confirmed there was dysfunction within the team, which is why the league felt a leadership change was necessary in Minnesota.
I mean, there you go, right? There you go. Again, ongoing story. If there's more that comes out, we'll continue to cover it, guys, because not only are we a wild podcast now, you bet your ass we're going to continue to cover the PWHL, as I didn't do enough of it last year, but this season coming up, Seth, I'm going to be hosting watch parties for PWHL games, as well as a lot more NHL games. I'm going to be a lot more active on YouTube, doing a lot more interactive content with you guys. Hoppy and Z won't be the only ones streaming moving forward, and I really want to, and I'm going to make an effort to add like the PWHL into that rotation, because wow, weird, you add checking in women's hockey and it actually becomes a fucking awesome sport to watch. Weird, Seth. Weird. I've been fucking yelling that for my whole life. This ain't ringette, bro. This is hockey. If you don't want to hit each other, go play ringette. I tell it to guys and gals. If you don't want to hit each other, go fucking play ringette, bro. Anyways. Final segment here, guys. Let's talk a little Stanley Cup playoffs. Stanley Cup finals. The Florida Panthers take game 1 at home, and what a wild game in the sense that the Oilers were peppering Sergei Bobrovsky. Fucking butterfly saves. Man, he looked so loose and dialed in that game. He's a fucking wall. Shutout by Bobrovsky. He made 32 saves, ladies and gentlemen. 32 saves to score the shutout. And Stuart Skinner, man, 15 shots. Letting the 2 goals.
This series is, I'm gonna, not a hot take. This series is not over, but if you're Edmonton, I think you feel like you let an opportunity slip, because Florida, Edmonton thoroughly handled in the puck possession category, and this again goes to show you, if your goaltending is even a little suspect, this can happen. Yeah. Because that was the difference, was Sergei Bobrovsky was on his game. Stuart Skinner just was not, and it's not even like he was terrible. Like we're not saying he got an F as a letter grade, but if you have a goalie that's an A+ on one side, you can lose a game and be an A-.
Yeah.
That's just
and goalie Bob is one of the best in the league when he's on. And the weird thing about Bobrovsky is he's not I'm going to play good one night and play bad the next night. It's like when he's in his good run, he's good for a long stretch. Yeah. And on the other end of that, when he's not playing well, it's a pretty long stretch. And we were seeing even a couple years ago, people being like, was he a fraud this whole time signing this big deal? Now the deal's still fucking insane, but now I think he's earning every penny, especially if he wins a Stanley Cup, because that's what you pay these players to do. And back with a vengeance this year, it would have been massive for Edmonton to win that game in game 1 in Florida. That would have been huge. Hoppy and I were talking actually at the wedding, and he was saying that if the finals started 3 days after the Western Conference final and the Eastern Conference final, then maybe Edmonton could have taken that momentum, rode that momentum into this game. But with 6 days in between, the high of winning that Dallas game is probably gone, is well gone. And you have to regroup and now go up against basically a team as deep, but younger and faster in the Florida Panthers, and a better goalie.
Yeah, it's funny because, the shots, the high danger chances, everything outweighed, everything was heavily in Edmonton's favor. But who's the team that set the tone?
Yeah,
it was Florida. Florida, they heavily had a large advantage in the hits department, and that one that we're going to see played over and over and over again was Sam Bennett putting Connor McDavid through the ice with that hit right over the middle of the ice. But that's why Florida won, is because they set the tone.
No, absolutely. And it's not for lack of trying from the Oilers. Evan Bouchard, who's been an absolute beast in the playoffs, by the way, guys. Evan Bouchard, and I was always pretty critical of Evan Bouchard. We talked about this last week, but man, has he been so good. He had 4 shots on net. Leon Draisaitl had 4 shots. Matthias Ekholm even had 2. Warren Fogle had 3. McDavid had 6. right? So like it was not for a lack of trying, but you said that tone, man. Like basically Florida, what essentially this was to the Edmonton Oilers is this all you got?
Yeah.
Is this all you got? You got any more than this? Because I feel like they threw everything in the kitchen sink at them. Skinner wasn't horrible. Everyone was buzzing. And you couldn't even get one past goalie Bob. And we were way more physical.
Yeah, that's what wins you games at this point, is either using your skill players to kind of get it done, or if you are the team that is going up against the high level talent, is you got to find a way to shut them down. And
the players who scored for Florida too, like it's by committee. That's why I said they're deep. Carter Verhaeghe, Evan Rodriguez, and oh boy, Eetu Losterninen. I probably totally butchered his name, but and he's kind of come out of nowhere this year as being a solid young player for the Florida Panthers. But that's what I'm saying. Like Barkov, yeah, he got 2 points, he got 2 assists. Sam Bennett got an assist, but Montour got an assist. But you see these. And for this team, depth players, not the big names who are coming in here contributing. And to be fair, like up and down this lineup, man, everyone was contributing this year throughout the season. And that's why I just really, really like this Panthers team.
Yeah, there's a reason they've been one of the best teams in the league the whole season. Like they didn't just come out of nowhere. They did exactly what you would expect them to do coming off of last season, is learn from that Stanley Cup final loss, get hungry, and come back and finish the job.
Dude, and they look fucking hungry right now. Anything else from this series? Anything you want to touch on here from the last game, or like how you think it's going to play out? Do you think the Oilers are going to get one at home? Do you think it's going to be a split going back to Edmonton? Like what are your, and we don't need like detailed predictions, but like now that we've seen game one, because we were talking about our like predictions last week, but now that you've seen game one, did anything change? Are you more or less critical on any of the points you made from last week? Like what are your thoughts now that you've seen game one? And we'll wrap with that.
I think it's honestly, I think it kind of played out how we expected, in that Edmonton threw everything they had at Florida. Florida just wouldn't budge. Now, Edmonton is a good enough team that I think there will certainly be adjustments, like Cody Ceci, Darnell Nurse, please split up as a pairing. But Edmonton will bounce back. I definitely think they will get it. May be that Florida gets the first two, but then I think Edmonton will have a response for sure.
I can't believe Dmitry Kulikov is back with the Panthers.
Gonna be sick when he wins a cup.
That's like that's the only one on the team who are like, I'm just like, oh my god, dude. Really? Well, actually, no, there's two. Can you guess the other one? He's also a defenseman.
Oh boy.
He's Swedish.
Pulling up the roster.
That's cheating.
I give up.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson, because he did not play well with Vancouver, and now he's going to a Stanley Cup team. Potential Stanley Cup team. Absolute stud with the Arizona Coyotes. Comes over to Vancouver in that trade, and yeah.
The rest is, as they say, history.
Yeah, but I don't hate him. Actually, you know what? There's another former Canucks player on this team I totally forgot about, Jonah Gadjevich, which I'm super proud of him. He played 39 games with the team this year. He's an enforcer, and he was a guy who would get like over 100 penalty minutes in junior, and get like 80 points in junior. It didn't translate into National Hockey League. He was just a little too slow. His hands weren't silky enough. His shot wasn't NHL level. But Jonah Gadjevich has continued to apply that tough style of game to the National Hockey League, and it's working. 104 penalty minutes this year. Like he is the guy. He's the guy who, if you need some energy, if you need a fight, if you need just that presence, he's there. And only 4 points this year. I don't expect him to be a point per game guy. Shoot, in the AHL he can, because he's just it's crazy down there, and his style of play fits the brand of AHL hockey for the most part. But yeah, he didn't have a good run with San Jose. Vancouver drafted him in the second round. He only played one pro game with Vancouver, played 3 years with their AHL team. And yeah, played 3 games for the AHL this year and 39 for the Panthers. So whether he's scratched or in the lineup, I'm just happy that he's found his niche in the National Hockey League, and that a potential Stanley Cup team, but a Stanley Cup worthy team anyways, has recognized the value that he brings to the game still. Because a lot of people are saying that like that type of player has no business being in the game anymore. I wholeheartedly disagree.
Yeah.
You hear that, John? I wholeheartedly disagree. Sorry. Last one. Seth, what do we got coming up this week on Locked On Wild? I know we have a couple episodes because due to internet stuff last week, we weren't able to record, but we're going to double up this week. We're going to double up to make up for it.
I have an exciting run of topics coming this week, including looking at, so I've been doing all these draft profiles. If we're drafting for a player that we're going to see probably 4 or 5 years from now, what should the Wild be targeting?
So looking into the crystal ball of, okay, maybe we're thin on this. Maybe because their cabinets are full, let's be honest.
Yeah.
They're bursting from the seams. But like where positionally is the thinnest? And if we have an abundance of, say, like wingers, maybe we have to look for, even if our center depth is good now, maybe in 5 years we don't have that. Maybe Rossi doesn't pan out. Like, I like that. Looking in the crystal ball a bit.
For instance, goalie.
That's like probably the biggest, most glaring example.
We're gonna obviously we're gonna have Jesper. If everything goes according to plan, he will be like the bona fide number 1. But
you need a 1B in this league now, man. Like your backup has to be capable. Like gone are the days of the goalies who play 70 plus games.
Yeah. Gone will be Fleury. Gustafsson may or may not still be here.
I hope it works out for him, but yeah, you're right. It's a massive question mark right now.
Yeah. So I'll talk about that in more depth this week. And
I like it.
I'm gonna also at some point during the week play off of the Utah thing a little bit. And if the Wild were to rebrand, what would be some directions they could go there?
The Wild Hockey Club. The Minnesota Hockey. Oh,
the Minnesota Yeti.
Oh, no. The PWHL gets a name and the Wild just goes to the Minnesota Hockey team. Because then they can bring back that jersey that just says Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
The green and cream.
I'll give you a hint.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
My probable number 1 has already existed here in the state. And
okay.
So
we could get so fucking creative with that. That's hilarious.
Well, maybe that's what we do on Thursday.
Maybe, yeah. That actually that might be a lot of fun. Oh, dude, the Minnesota Hockey. It's just too good. It's just too good because it's like a layup because the Wild literally have a jersey and it's a nice jersey. I actually really love the cream. I love the Iowa Wild colors. I think the Wild should just adopt that personally. Though I like the Christmas tree jersey, it's more a connection to Bugard than it was those jerseys for me.
Right.
So I think it's less about the jersey and more that I love the players. Like he was one of my favorite players. I can take it with a grain of salt. This is my brand. He was one of my favorite enforcers that I grew up watching, right? And so I had such admiration for him that like whenever I see that jersey, like it just warms my heart, right? But I don't know if that's because the jersey was super nice, but it's definitely not bad. But yeah, I love that Minnesota, the text one without the logo. But sweet, man, it sounds like we got a lot cooking this week. If you guys haven't already, Seth live streaming on Sundays, even this summer. He had his last one with the legend himself, man. How was it recording with Denny?
It was elite. Denny, he brought the heat, which
he brought his notes too. So respect, Denny.
I expected that he would, and honestly, for kind of the Denny debut, I thought it went great.
I thought it was awesome. It was great. My favorite part when he was like, you know what, Seth, it's time for a break. I was like, oh, Denny needs another coffee.
Like, all right.
Oh, I love it. Big shout to Denny as well as he supports this channel and this show. And we're an awesome community here. We're an awesome community. This all these Minnesota Wild podcasters. And it's just cool how, like, you know, you had Alexis on, we connect with Jesse Pierce, like, obviously the connections now with Russo, Joe Smith, like we're all just like connecting with each other and all striving to bring you guys as much content and the best content, you know, possible. So we really appreciate every single one of you guys. Back on track with Sotapod. So this will drop on Monday, guys. Check us out on YouTube if you haven't already. And Seth, I say this every week. This is the best part of my week, man. Best part of my week is hanging out with you, talking puck. And well, in this case, I'm drinking coffee, but later this week, drinking some beers.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Thanks, Seth. We'll see you next week. Big shout out to Seth, as always. And also big shout out to 7th Avenue Pizza. 7th Avenue Pizza, man, I can't say enough good things about them. I cannot say enough good things about them. Like, I really will not order any pizza ever again. I never have to buy a different brand of frozen pizza. Hell, the only other pizza place I'll go to is that little hole in the wall that does Chicago deep dish. But we ain't talking Chicago deep dish right now. We're talking the best damn frozen pizza on the planet with a variety of your favorite types of pizza, even a breakfast pizza, which I will say is better than Casey's. Fight me, denial. You can find them all over the Twin Cities. Jerry Foods, Hy-Vee, Lunds and Byerly. Bro, even your random local non-franchise gas stations I've seen have 7th Avenue Pizza. Matt and the team are amazing. A great local company. They're also going to be slanging ice cream this summer. They're the best, man. And they're so active on social media and so interactive with you guys, the customers, and in my case, the fans. Great people, great product, amazing local company. 7th Avenue Pizza, a proud partner of the Sotapod. Last but not least, Better Edge, man. So glad personally, since I don't really bet on baseball. I'm not the biggest NFL guy. I like me my fights. I like me my mixed martial arts. I like my UFC, and I've just been hammering picks on the UFC side of their platform. And now that the National Hockey League playoffs are coming to an end here with the finals, there's still time to get your hockey picks, your hockey bets in on Better Edge. That's right. Better Edge is a legal betting site and app in the great state of Minnesota and 44 other states. If you missed out on our Frozen 4 bracket challenge that we host every year on Better Edge, make sure you check out our Stanley Cup Playoffs bracket challenge that we're hosting there as well. And use our signing bonus and use our sign-up bonus if you haven't dabbled in the app today. BetterEdge.com/thesotapod. BetterEdge.com/sotapod to get $20 when you sign up to play around with. That's right. BetterEdge.com/sotapod to receive a signing bonus. Some free money on us, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're already using the app and you want more out of it, you can become a premium player. BetterEdge.com/premium. Check that out for all those perks. But again, legal betting in the great state of Minnesota. We can't ask for anything more. And don't forget to claim your $20 signing bonus. BetterEdge.com/sotapod. Another amazing local company, ladies and gentlemen. Great people, an awesome product, and it's local. So what are you waiting for? Go sign up today. BetterEdge.com/sotapod. Better Edge, a proud partner of the Sotapod. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for the show. Again, we will bring back a regular rotation of Hoppy Hour segments next week onward. There will be a beer vlog that does drop on the channel this week. Sorry, I teased it last week and didn't have a chance to drop it. Like I said, it was just crazy last week in my schedule. My routine just got thrown out the window. But we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Go check out Seth on Locked On Wild as always. And don't forget to tune in to the Friday episode as we do a little Sotapod Locked On collaboration on his platform, on his YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcasts from. Again, big shout out and thank you to everyone who tunes in via the audio side of things, Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Folks, the best thing you can do for us this week, any week, is give us a kind review, 5-star rating. And if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and comment on the videos that you're watching, as it just helps YouTube push us to more viewers. And reviewing on the podcast side of things helps us get in front of more listeners. We love you guys. Thank you so much for the support. We're nearing 400 episodes of the Sotapod. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? It's all because of you guys, and we appreciate it. With that, signing off. With that, signing off, I'm Isha Drillme alongside Seth Toupal. This has been the Sota Pod presented by Better Edge, 7th Avenue Pizza, Northland Vodka, and Waggle Golf. Don't fear, just drink some beer and stay wild.